What's up guys, Tim Little. Welcome back to Tactical Bassin. Today's video, we are covering my top 5 baits to catch fish in the fall. Fall bass fishing, fall in general, is one of my favorite seasons of the entire year to be bass fishing. We have cooler weather, cooler nights, cooler water temps, and the bass are on the move. They are feeding up. It's all about bait fish. Okay, so we're looking for bait balls, we're looking for blow-ups, we're looking for activity, but these fish are active. Now that we have those cooler water temps, we got more oxygen in the water. You know, we fished all the way through the dog days of summer. Now with those cooling temps, now these fish are roaming. They're out chasing those schools of bait fish. The bait fish with these cooler nights get on the move, whether they're going up creek channels, in the backs of creek arms, the backs of bays or pockets on big flats. These bass are not too far behind. You know, I'm always panning the horizon looking for blow-ups, looking for disturbances or birds diving, because fall bass fishing, like I said, is one of my favorite times to be out on the water. Who doesn't love a great, crisp morning when bass are blown up on topwater? It doesn't get much better than that. But today's video, we're going to talk about my 5 favorite techniques, my top 5 techniques, confidence techniques to put fish in the boat. Now, before we get started, let me start off by saying every fisherman has a different style. My style is different from Matt's style, who's different from their style and their style. So I'm going with my top 5 techniques, but really there's probably a top 10 or 12 techniques that really work this time of the year. Again, these fish are active. You can basically catch fish however you want. But for me, my style, my top 5, that's what we're going to talk about today. And then you can kind of branch off of that. Or maybe it's a mirror, it's an exact copy of my 5, or maybe you have a completely different set of 5. You can leave those down below in the comment section. But fall bass fishing is a great time to be out on the water. The fish are active, and I love catching them on topwater, a jerkbait, a crankbait, an A-rig, and an underspin, right? Cut to the chase, guys. That's my top 5. Now let's go into each technique specifically. Number 1, topwater. I love a great topwater bite. Now, what's different about the fall topwater bite versus the summer topwater bite, where we've been doing the last few months, a lot of times we're fishing early morning, late evening. We're fishing in grass, around grass. Maybe we're throwing a frog over grass. As we get these cooler nights, as we get these cooler water temps, that grass really starts dying back. And now it's kind of more open water or sparse grass topwater fishing. But for me, what keeps me awake at night dreaming about bass fishing is looking out and seeing shad flying out of the water, looking up shallow, seeing shad blown up onto the shoreline, seeing those explosions, and being able to take a walking bait like this guy right here, that's the giant dog X, and throw this into that boil and just see these fish just come unglued. You know, 1, 2, 3 blow-ups on my top water, and then finally hooking up. A tip for you guys, because it's bound to happen. When you get that first blow up, you don't want to swing and set the hook. I see guys all the time do it. They see that explosion and they rip that bait out of there. Wait for a little bit of tension on your rod. Wait for that rod to load up a little bit and then set the hook, especially if you're fishing around spotted bass. Those guys are crazy. They will hit that bait 3 or 4 or 5 times until they really get it. But if you swing and you set that hook on the first blow up, now you've just pulled that bait 5 or 10 feet away, and your odds of catching that fish have just lowered. Hopefully it's a school of fish, and now the second fish takes a shot, or the third fish takes a shot. But my number 1 bait is going to be a walking bait, a topwater bait this time of the year. Basically, I mean, there's a ton of really good topwater baits on the market, but for me, my top 3 topwater baits, number 1, the Giant Dog X. You guys know how much we love that bait. It's more of a finessey topwater. You know, these fish are chasing shad, they're chasing silver side, you know, smaller gizzards, they're blowing up. I don't need a bait that makes a ton of commotion when they're in that situation, right? I just want to hit that target. Another tip for you guys, if they're blowing up and the circle's a 10-foot diameter blow up circle, maybe there's 3 or 4 bass blowing in there, land right in the middle and get to walking. It just wait for your rod to be ripped out of your hand. But you have to be accurate. Those fish are in the feeding mode, they're right there in the zone. You want that bait landing right there. But a topwater is my #1 bait. So that guy right there, that Giant Dog X, that is another bait that I like to throw early morning, late evening, when the sun starts setting, the sun starts rising, it's quiet out on the water, there's not a lot of ripple, there's not a lot of activity. So I'm fishing my key areas, right? I'm not necessarily throwing into a boil where these bass are blowing up on shad. I might be fishing this point right here. I might be fishing a shade line or a key piece of maybe a grass patch over there, but I'm subtle, I'm quiet. On the flip side, 2 more for you. #1, the shower blows. You can see that's the 105, not a huge topwater. With this bait right here, it's a little bit heavier than that Giant Dog X. It does have a loud rattle in it, a lot more aggressive. Now the benefit of this guy, choppy water, and if those fish, it never fails. Those fish come up schooling just out of reach. It just never fails. As we're fishing through fall, like I said, my #1 is throwing a topwater, and it just seems like these fish are just always just out of range for my casting distance. This guy being a little bit heavier, excuse me, I can send this thing an extra 10 or 15 feet over that Giant Dog X. So that's when that bait comes into play. And then for you guys that are around bigger bait fish, or you're around bass that are keying in on a single bait fish, not a school of bait, not a a ball of 1,000 little thread fins. We're talking maybe gizzard shad or hitch or some kind of bigger bait fish, and you see them, they're chasing, you see that wake of that bait fish, you see that bass blowing up on it, you see them going all over the place chasing that single bait fish. It's a lot harder to convert that fish. I look forward to it. It's a challenge for me. You're trying to guess which way they're going, but throwing a larger topwater, trying to get that fish's attention off of that shad and eat your bigger presentation is key. And that has produced a lot of big bites. It's really the only way to, without luck, really convert those fish from chasing that real bait to eating your bait. For that, I like the Jowler. It's a lot bigger topwater bait. See that in size comparison? It's got a cupped face, a lot more splash and resistance, a commotion in the water. Okay, so if you're throwing into a school of bait fish, a school of blowing up bass, that guy right there, it's a smaller profile, it's easier for them to get in their mouth. Again, it's a 3-hooked bait versus a larger profile. This is the bait that I'm gonna pick up when I'm trying to draw a bite off of a point. Maybe it's a wind-blown point, and that wind has blown the plankton in, it's blown the shad in, and now the bass are right behind, and I want to fish that bank, that wind-blown bank. That's when I'm going to go with the larger topwater. But that is kind of my arsenal for topwaters in the fall. Again, I love throwing a topwater, so I'll have 2 or 3 topwater rods rigged up. Maybe more of a ghosty color, like a ghost minnow or a matte shad color. Definitely have some kind of chromy or flashy bait, especially if I'm on a herring fishery or a fishery with bigger thread fin. I like throwing that real chrome, that real flash. But a topwater is my #1 bait. My #1 technique to catch them in the fall. Now, #2, kind of speed this up a little bit. I know we're already like, I don't know, 9 or 10 minutes into this video, but a jerkbait. Okay, now that I've kind of painted this picture for you, hopefully that gets the blood pumping, the heart pumping. You know, shad are dying. Bass are eating, and they're eating lots, and they are reactive. So I love covering water. I'm trying to find those active fish. I am fishing fast. I like to do that with a jerkbait. okay? Same situations, whether you're fishing the back of a creek channel, back of a little pocket, where, you know, a lot of times this time of the year, those fish are gonna sit in the deeper part of that channel, but maybe it pushes up back into a flat or an area where they can corral that bait. Those fish are gonna sit there and hold those, pin those bait fish to the back. Sometimes you'll see them blown up on shore. Sometimes you'll see them blown up in the guts or the channel of that creek channel. Fish are on the move, but a jerkbait is another bait that you can get real aggressive with. Rip, 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 pause. Rip, rip, pause. Rip, 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 pause. We're not doing that rip, let it sit for 10 or 15 seconds. We want this thing darting and getting all erratic. That 110 Junior +1, again, smaller size. It's not a full size. It's a Junior, and it's a shallow running bait. So it's a real, you can get real aggressive with it. It's gonna roll, it's gonna blow out, but again, you're working it really fast. I've caught some really big spotted bass thinking that I was done with my cast, burning it in to make another cast, and then all of a sudden I load up and I'm like, oh shoot, that's a big 4-pound spot. Okay, they're chasing that. They like to chase. They like to play that cat and mouse game. So I like throwing the jerkbait. On the flip side, a soft jerkbait works extremely well as well. Whether it's the whiplash shad, you guys know how much we love that. That has that Cinco shimmy on the fall, but you can get real aggressive with it. Real wide kicks, a lot different than your traditional super fluke. And then you have this new one right here. This is the Mega Bass. That is the sling shad. Again, super soft. I talked about this in a recent video. It's a super soft bait. It feels a lot like a Sakamata shad, but you can get real aggressive with it. And when you do burn it, this thing is so soft that it actually swims like almost like a paddle tail swim bait. But being able to, whether you're throwing it into that boil or you're throwing it around that grass line, rip, 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 pause, rip, 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 let it fall, rip, rip, get real aggressive with it. You can add a nail weight in the belly to get it to fall quicker, get that thing to dance all over the place. These fish aren't afraid to chase. Like I said, they like it. One tip for you guys, especially if you're on a spotted bass fishery, having some kind of chartreuse or even an entire chartreuse soft plastic jerkbait. For whatever reason, those spotted bass love it. They love that chartreuse. They like to chase. So that guy right there is awesome. But a jerkbait is my number 2. Number 3 technique for me this time of the year, welcome back to the arsenal, speed cranking, right? We developed this bait right there, the Tactical DD. We developed this several years ago to be a fall all the way through pre-spawn crankbait. Tight wobble, super fast, great dive angle, deflects extremely well, super flashy, natural colors. But the speed crank is back into the arsenal. You know, I kind of set it down through the summer months. Ledge fishing, I picked up some of those deeper diving crankbaits, but now these fish are going shallow. They're chasing the bait. You can catch them even suspended, adding that burn, 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 pause. You don't need to deflect off the bottom with a speed crank to catch those fish. It's all about that directional change or changing that cadence to entice those fish to bite. So the Tactical DD, that's our favorite, right? Whether it's mirrored minnow or DD, minnow. Those are 2 of my favorite colors. They get down fast. You can fish them fast. 7 to 8 to 1 gear ratio reel, or burn, 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 pause, burn, 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 pause. Now on the flip side, you can still fish this one fairly fast. That's the Rapple, the DT. This is the 20. The 16 is great as well. But when a lot of times these fish are around brush piles. If you want to tick the tops of those brush piles or get down to that 16 to 20 foot depth and have this thing kind of suspend, this is more of a high float, burn, 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 pause, kind of backs up into the fish, where this kind of just more of just a natural kind of buoyant, neutrally buoyant, so it doesn't float back as fast. But that DT series, the DT 16 and the 20 are great this time of the year. But speed cranking, get them to react to that change of direction. Whether it's fishing anywhere from 8 to 20 foot, those crankbaits really can trigger bites when maybe those fish are shut down because the bait ball has disappeared. Those fish are still there if they're on a key piece of structure, whether it's a rock pile or a boulder or whatever. You know, now you can burn it up to that brush pile and pause it, or take it through the tops of the brush pile. But a crankbait is in my top 5. Okay, number 4, you can't fish in the fall with adding some kind of flash, adding some kind of vibration, or going with the underspin, specifically the Tactical Mini underspin, paired up with a Mayer or one of your favorite finesse swim baits. I really like that Mayer. That thing has more of a deeper belly, kind of a shad profile, a better shad profile swim bait. But having that flash and vibration is so important. I talked about it in a video a week or two ago, talking about adding that flash, adding that vibration to get that fish to so your bait doesn't disappear into the thousands or tens of thousands reel shad. You want that bait to stand out with that vibration, with that flash. You want that fish to see your bait out of the tens of thousands of reel baits and eat yours. So having that flash, that vibration is key. Little stout hook in there, so you don't have to worry about bending that hook out, but that is an awesome little combination. Here it is on a little 2.8 swammer. I really like throwing a 1/4 ounce or even a 3/8 ounce head this time of the year because I can fish it fast. I can fish it, I can throw it farther, cast it farther, I can fish it fast, I can burn it. I don't have to worry about that swim bait blowing out and that blade is going. Again, these fish are chasing those fleeing shad, and throwing a little bit heavier underspin has been really key for me, especially this time of the year. Now, last but not least, just like the speed crank, adding it back into the arsenal, it's go time for the Alabama rig, the A rig. Make sure you're throwing a rig that has enough flex to it, some lighter wires, so when you're burning it out there and you're adding those reel twitches or those rod twitches, that school of bait is compressing and expanding. You know, you can add your rod twitches, whatever you want to do, but 1, 2, 3, twitch, twitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, twitch, twitch. Make sure you're throwing a rig that has blades on it. Again, can't stress the importance of a bladed rig this time of the year. It's all about those schools of bait fish. You know, the benefit of throwing the A rig, it's really easy to match the hatch. You can change the size of swim baits. You can change the depths or the weights of the heads to adjust the depth that you're fishing. You know, maybe you're fishing a highland reservoir where these fish are out over 150 feet of water, but they're only 10 feet down chasing shad. Okay, you want to make a long cast, get that bait down and burn it. You don't necessarily need as heavy of heads as you would if you needed to make a long cast and get it down in 20 foot or per se. So having an A rig with blades is a must. I really like, little tip for you guys, I always put my heavier head in the middle. So let me back up. This is the Tactical Mini Flex rig, light wires, really flexible. You just threw water on the lens. Sorry guys. Super flexible, so you get that real lifelike movement in the water. But 3 dummies. It's a 6-wire rig, 3 dummies, 3 hooked baits. Check your regulations for your state. Sometimes you can have 5 hooked baits, but we found that 3 is all you need. And they almost always eat the larger, farther back rig or bait on the rig. But this helps from, if you put your heavier weights on the outside, when you go to make your long cast, they fold in and can foul sometimes. So I like to put that heavier right in the middle, the heavier head in the middle. But again, you can go super light, 3 1/8 ounce heads and fish this super shallow. But if there's any bait on the market that mimics a school of bait fish, best, it's the Alabama rig, specifically this rig right here, having that flash. Caught so many big fish, so many double digits on this guy right here. It is one of my favorites. Again, fall time fishing, guys, it's all about fishing fast. It's all about finding those active fish. And once you do, just putting the hammer to them. Whether it's throwing an A rig, an underspin, a jerkbait, a speed crank, or topwater, with one of those 5 techniques, I promise you guys will have success this fall. Guys, as always, we appreciate the support. Down below in the comment section, let me hear your top 2 or 3 favorite fall time fishing baits. Don't be afraid to get out on the water. Most of the pleasure boats are put away. It's after Labor Day. Most of those boats are put away. A lot of times we have the lake to ourselves. We got cooler water temps, active bass. It is a great time. An awesome time to be out on the water. Guys, if you learned something from this video, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We appreciate all the support. Down below in the video description, I will link the favorite baits that we talked about, some of our favorite swim baits or colors in those baits, favorite gear. But as always, guys, we appreciate the support. We will see you guys on the next video.